Hey everyone, it is Evan here from the Trade Risk on Wednesday, May 8th. We are intraday right now, and this is our weekly trade ideas video where we bring you some of the names on our watch list, stocks that are holding up well, showing some good relative strength, and ideally are not yet too extended in their moves. As always, these videos are powered by our partners over at Investors Business Daily. We're curating ideas based on their stock lists. You can get access to the stock list with a link in the description of this video. So we have 5 names we're going to look at today, actually 6, looks like 6, one short idea at the end. Remember, with the uptick in volatility that we've seen recently, put these ideas into context. You can watch yesterday's market recap video for help on that. These ideas are based exclusively on technicals, and we're just looking at these names in a vacuum. So you do want to make sure that they fit the overall market structure, your risk, strategy, time frame, all of that good and fun stuff. So jumping into our first name here, this is from IBD's list. This is PayPal, PYPL. This has been on a nice run over the past several months, really just kind of escaping to new highs here. Last big breakout was early this year, back in February, one of the first weeks above $93 to new all-time highs, and it's basically been trending pretty cleanly ever since then. We're starting to get a little bit of a pullback here, which it hasn't offered too many entries in this trend over the past several weeks and months. So PayPal here, the start of at least a 5 or 6 day pullback, maybe something bigger. Ideally, it turns into something bigger. It's not ready yet, but it's something to think about as it starts now, pulling off about 5% or so off of highs, which frankly is still not a tremendous amount, but it could turn into something bigger. So PYPL for a pullback setup there, keeping it on watch. Number 2 here is KL, Kirkland Lake Gold. This is one we've talked about on these videos a few times in the past. And again, this has been, just like PayPal, a very strong leader for the course of this year. We didn't get a pullback really started until about late February, early March, and it has found some support over this $30 area, and it's starting to firm back up again. MACD back in positive territory. Earnings are out of the way. We've seen a sort of higher low get put in here just around this $30.70. So I think you have a risk-defined way to jump back aboard this trend if you do believe it is turning up and you do believe in KL. I think this is one to pay attention to, especially with yesterday. Good volume, push over recent highs here. Going to be looking at this one myself at the close. Lastly, or not lastly, but moving on to the watch list from our watch list is HUBS, number 1 here, HUBS. This one reported earnings recently. It broke out to new highs. If we zoom out here, you can see just a nice strong stock overall. It broke out of this 3-month consolidation into earnings or through earnings, and it just today, I think, was the interesting kind of retest here as the lows from today around 173.50 kind of came back and tested the breakout area back from just 2 weeks ago, and we're starting to close back up again. MACD holding high, breaking out to new all-time highs. It's just below them, but I think this is one worth paying attention to, especially now that earnings are out of the way and technically still holding up quite well. Next up is CGC. So this space, of course, is highly watched now in the cannabis space, and they really haven't gone too far over the past couple of months. It's been mostly in a digestion sideways pattern in much of these names. CGC, really not much exception. It had a nice move from $40 to $52. I mean, this was a 30% move in just about a week and a half, 2 weeks worth of trading time. So it did get off to a nice move there. Good volume came in on this recent thrust higher, and now it is consolidated back kind of to the top end of this range, and we can keep it on watch again, $50 or so. I think that'd be a good trigger price. And again, if we just zoom out here, you can see this is where the stock stalled out back in 2018, and it still seems to have a decent amount of supply up here. So might need some more time, but something worth paying attention to as this starts to coil back up and pull back off of recent highs. Last but not least, MDB. MDB here has been one that we haven't talked about in a while. We were identifying it back here earlier in the year, but really we didn't get too much of a setup. Then it had earnings, and then it just kind of took off to the races. Well, it's finally starting to pull back here, put in a more meaningful consolidation, some price structure to trade against. 140, that is, give or take the prior highs here from last week, comes in around this trend line. So I think if it starts breaking over call it 141, that's where it starts to get interesting. And then you have the all-time highs up here around 155. So MDB putting in that consolidation and worth starting to pay attention to. Last but not least is a revisit, same thing as last week, is the IWM on the short side. So again, with a little bit of uptick in volatility here, we saw the breakout from Friday fail in the small caps, and now we're just sort of teetering on this trend line and some supply in here around 156. If this starts to lose here, again, IWM is holding up best in class right now in terms of the major averages. So you have to make a decision if IWM is your best bet if you're looking for some index short, but it is tight. It is a tight pattern right here, and it is something to worth watching. So if we start losing 156 or so, could put you in for a bigger pullback, perhaps back down to the March lows around 150 or below. So that is it. 5 names, 6 names if you count the short idea here for you to take a look at. Remember, do your homework on these names, check those earnings dates, make sure they fit what you're looking for. And as always, thank you so much for watching and tuning in. You can subscribe on our YouTube channel or follow us on the Trade Risk, thetraderisk.com/blog. Have a great rest of your day, and we'll see you in the next video update.